Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Janice Kasravi, and I'm the Director of Membership and Community at Diversity Abroad. I first want to take a moment to thank you all for joining. Also thank UCEAP for inviting us to present at your conference. The UCEAP holds a special place in my heart. I'm based out of Los Angeles. I actually was director of the EAP program at UC San Diego a very long time ago. So I am very familiar with the work that you all do and several of the programs that you all are connected with. So I'm very excited to be here today. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So the session is being recorded. I would like to just note that there will be time. There will be 2 points during the presentation today for Q&A for all of you. So you can also type your questions in the chat, and I will get to those during the Q&A sections. As I mentioned, I'm the Director of Membership and Community at Diversity Abroad. I have been with the team for nearly a year and a half. As I mentioned, I've worked with outbound programs, and I also work with inbound programs, international students for over a decade. But the work that we do at Diversity Abroad is very near and dear to my heart and the research that I did during my graduate studies. So I'm very excited to be on the team. Also, for all of you at the UC campuses and also the UC system-wide office and on-site staff, just to note, the majority of the campuses are members of Diversity Abroad. So many of you might be familiar with our organization and what we do. For those of you who aren't familiar, just a bit of an overview. Diversity Abroad was established in 2006. The mission initially was focused on students. So we did campus visits, resources, scholarships, specifically focused on increasing the numbers of historically underrepresented students to go abroad. In 2011, we actually shifted and established the Diversity Abroad Network Consortium, and that's the membership piece of it. So currently we have over 300 member institutions and organizations throughout the world that are members of Diversity Abroad. And the Diversity Abroad Network is geared towards professionals in helping advance the work that you do with regards to DEI in the field of international exchange. And you see here on the screen, we are actually focused on 4 pillars with the work that we do. So the education abroad piece is still a large piece of what we do. Another piece of it is global engagement at home with regards to the resources, events, research that we conduct. Obviously, we had to become much more creative about this piece during COVID and the pandemic. The other piece is creating resources, events, opportunities for those working with international student services and cultural exchange. And then the last piece is career advancement and belonging, just resources, events, opportunities for us as professionals in the work that we do, looking at creating a sense of belonging within the workplaces, looking at hiring and retaining diverse pool of talent, looking at our hiring practices, professional advancement opportunities, and so on. So just a bit of an overview with the goals of my presentation today. I will first be presenting the findings from our 2022 Global Experience Student Survey. Afterwards, I'm going to be going through some of the resources, upcoming events, and new initiatives that we have at Diversity Abroad, especially because most of you are members, and I've been trying to connect to several of the folks within the UC campuses and also the system-wide office to take advantage of our opportunities. I know many of you do, but we would welcome more collaboration with the UC campuses. And then I'm also going to do a walkthrough of our member portal to show you kind of where some of the resources are that are at your disposal, and then the audience Q&A. So first, an overview of our student survey. We did do a small survey during the pandemic for students, and this was specifically just looking at what happened to their program as a result of their pandemic. That's separate from this one that we did last year. This is going to be our annual survey that we're going to run every year. Our sample population included students who had participated in any type of international experience, whether it was study, intern, research, volunteer, COIL, during the periods of summer 2021 to summer 2022. The survey was designed by our diversity abroad staff and also some external contractors. It took about 15 to 20 minutes for students to complete, and we marketed it through various channels, from our newsletters, our monthly newsletters that we sent out. So CUSO, the forum also helped promote it, and also reaching out to some of the IE top sending institutions. And we were very fortunate to have over 900 respondents representing over 200 institutions. In this survey, our goal was a little bit different than the surveys that some of the campuses and program providers provide, in that we were looking specifically at our students' identities and what aspects of their identities affected them prior to going abroad, on site, and upon return. I've linked here the slides. You can read the full report on our website. As of now, it's just a summary report that we put together. We are working right now and writing the comprehensive report, which I will expand on a little bit later. And that comprehensive report will be available later this fall. So hopefully you're all subscribed to our newsletter and you will receive marketing and promotion once that one is available. So with regards to the survey, we left all of the questions open. Respondents did not have to, we did not require a response to every question for students to advance through the survey. And then there were also, many of the questions allowed multiple selections. So that's why in looking at the summary report, some of the summary data may not add up as you think, because students were able to select multiple items. As far as the demographic questions, we asked students to reflect upon their identity at the time of their education abroad program. And if they had had multiple experiences, we asked them to think about and respond to this survey with regards to their most salient education abroad experience. With regards to their identity, it had to be at the time of that salient education abroad experience, because as we know, our students' identities shift and change throughout their studies. So as far as the overall population, this is a snapshot. Majority were female, majority identified as heterosexual, did not identify as having a disability. There were a little over 15% that indicate of those who did identify as having a disability, they reported mental health. The primary age range was between the age of 20 to 22 years. And over half of the respondents received need-based financial aid. For religious identity, we provided a pretty comprehensive list for respondents to identify with. So Christian was nearly a third of respondents. And as far as first-generation college students, for the purpose of our survey, we follow the U.S. Department of Education definition. So an individual, both of whose parents did not complete a baccalaureate degree. So nearly a fourth of respondents identified as first-generation college students, and a little over 20% identified as being an international student. In looking at race and ethnicity, majority of the students identified Caucasian. This mirrors, for the most part, the IIE Open Doors data with regard to the students who are going abroad. We also want to note with the racial ethnic categories, our language continues to evolve as more inclusive language becomes available. So you may see more changes in future iterations of our survey. So one of the first sections after the student demographics that we asked about was just specifically looking at the students' program characteristics. So the sources of funding, the primary sources of funding that were reported by students were family funding, personal funding, and scholarship. The type of program that they were participating in, majority reported program provider or an exchange program with their university. A little over 20% indicated faculty-led program, and a very small number indicated participating in COIL. The mode of the program, most of them were fully in person, a little over 15% participated in hybrid program, and a little over 4% indicated fully virtual. Program duration, 8 weeks to 4 months was the most popular program duration. And it was interesting to note a large number of our respondents had indicated that they had previously traveled to another country. The top program destinations, for the most part, mirror what we do see across the field: Italy, Spain, France, Western Europe, comprising the most popular destinations for our survey respondents. Next, we looked at, we explored the Getting Ready to Go Abroad and the source of information about the Students Education Abroad program, sources of support with regards to who they discussed their intent to participate with, and then also their concerns prior to their experience. So the sources of information, which many of you will be happy to see, the primary sources were their study abroad advisor, their website, and the academic advisor. Sources of support with whom they first discussed their intent to participate with were their family and peers, academic advisor, and professors was also listed by a large number of students as well. In looking at their concerns prior to their experience, we asked them to reflect upon this, and the types of concerns ranged from personal, anything having to do with health and safety, academic, logistical, and so program cost and program being canceled due to COVID travel restrictions. Again, this was during a period where, the pandemic was still prevalent and restrictions were still in place in many countries around the world. So these were some of the primary concerns across all groups. In looking at right now, as we're analyzing more of the comprehensive report, we're digging deeper into the specific identities. So right now, this is more of a summary report, a snapshot. The comprehensive report, which will be accessible to our members, so many of you, is going to dig deeper into, comparing by race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability, first generation international students, and we're digging deeper into some of this. So one thing that we are finding is that while over 70% of students identifying as white Caucasian were not concerned about racism abroad, only 17% of Black African American students indicated that this was not a concern prior to going overseas. Next, we explored their experience on site. So we looked at their relationships with folks on site and also some of their impactful influencers. So students overall indicated very positive relationships with their instructors and supervisors, their administration support staff, as well as peers from both the home and the host community. Right now, as we're aggregating this data down by specific identities, we are seeing those who identified as non-binary or third gender actually had lower agreement levels with regards to positive relationship with some of those categories and groups on site compared to those identifying as male or female. And also, we're noticing a very small number of students identifying as Black African American, indicating that they did not have good relationships with host community members compared to some of the other racial ethnic categories. Impactful influencers overall, personal, their peers, family, their roommates, help them with regards to their experience on site. And then their faculty. Faculty, here you see a quote, and we had a lot of open-ended items to get into deeper analysis across the trends that we were seeing and just looking at some of the themes that were emerging from the data. And so professors on site were both on site and then with obviously the faculty-led programs, because over 20% indicated they participated in faculty-led programs. So they really appreciated the support of their faculty. This is an example of a student in how much of an impact their professor had on them during their trip. Next, the survey dug deeper into the identity. So this question provides a snapshot. We asked students about the types and frequency of discomfort or mistreatment related to their identity while they were on site. So in looking at in the report we're writing now, so this is an overall snapshot across all students, but in looking at the comprehensive report that we're analyzing now, more respondents who identified as non-binary third gender indicated they felt stereotyped while overseas, they felt isolated, experienced microaggressions, and were verbally harassed more than once compared to those identifying as male or female. In looking at sexual orientation, fewer students identifying as gay or queer indicated that they never felt stereotyped abroad. And more than 1/3 of students identifying as queer indicated that they experienced microaggressions more than once compared to the other groups within the sexual orientation category. And 1/4 of students identifying as queer were verbally harassed more than once compared to the other groups. In looking here at discomfort, mistreatment abroad, and race and ethnicity, more students identifying as Black, African American, and Asian American students indicated they experienced microaggressions more than once, or at least once compared to the other racial ethnic groups. And more students identifying as Black, African American, and Hawaiian Pacific Islander students were verbally harassed more than once, or at least once compared to the other groups. So after that, we had some open-ended items, and then we also asked questions, students, as far as the strategies that they used to address their discomfort, mistreatment while abroad, and in navigating their identity. This isn't reflected on the chart, but one of the strategies that students, over 1/3 of the students indicated, was they either talked with their peers or they actually just ignored the discomfort, the mistreatment they experienced abroad. Here you see 2 snapshots of other strategies that in country and also from their home institution that they used to help them navigate their identity. So peers in country and instructors were very much primary sources of support in helping the students with their identity and what they experienced with their identity on site. And then also the students all use their talk to their family and their friends with some of what they were experiencing on site. With regards to, for the in-country, the category of other, where we see 5% of respondents, some of those that they had indicated were the strategies were using their own research, reaching out to coworkers on site, tour guide, family on site, and internship supervisor. And then with regards to home institution, that small percentage, students had indicated reaching out to their scholarship advisors back at home. We also explored prior access to resources with regards to their identity before the students went abroad. So here you see a snapshot. A large majority of students indicated that they did have access to resources about their identities going abroad. And then a smaller percentage either strongly agreeing or agreeing that they had opportunities to discuss their identity. And then also about half of students didn't even think their identity would be a factor prior to enrolling in this program, which is a thing that, we have to figure out how to address better in, which will come out later on in my presentation, address better in some of the strategies and the orientations that we do with our students. One thing that was interesting for us to note in this question was also the neutrality in some of these statements. A large number of students were neutral. We're working on the iteration of the next student survey right now. So we're looking we're changing around this question to kind of dig deeper into this neutrality section, or providing, changing around the question a little bit to dig deeper into this. As I mentioned, we had several survey items that provided the students to reflect on open-ended items. We included these, and we did have a large number who actually did provide responses in these open-ended items, and which it helps us because it helps us dig deeper. It helps us hear more of the student's voice and their experience. So here, across the board in these open-ended items about their identity, a theme that emerged was the intersectionality of our students' identities. So this first quote, you see a student talking about being female, being queer, and being American during their experience abroad, and seeking those safe spaces that in which she was able to be herself. The second quote is from a student who talks about being an international student, being Muslim, identifying as a person of color, and then later on goes on to discuss being a female and wearing a hijab, and how prevalent the intersectionality of our students' identities is with regards to their experience, whether the students even realize it or not, that this is another strategy for us as professionals in the field to be cognizant of and work on in the resources and advising that we provide to students prior to going abroad and also on site. I didn't include a slide here. We did ask questions about reentry. We asked just a few questions, asking about transition, access to resources, et cetera, for their reentry back home. And so over half of the respondents indicated that they had an easy transition back home. And then upon returning home, the majority felt supported by their campus advisors. And over half indicated that their identity had changed. A little over 40% of the respondents indicated that they were offered reentry resources upon return, but only 22% indicated that they actually used these reentry resources. So in looking at the open-ended data and the students' comments, we identified some of the most common themes that emerge in helping the students and the resources needed to help navigate their identity during their education abroad experience. So these are the ones displayed here. So logistical support, some of the things we already know about, but some of the things that help us also now kind of dig deeper into the work that we do. So housing, financial, mental health, medical support. So mental health, medical support, something that came up was having medical professionals on site that were equipped to advise students of specific identities, advise American students. If it was an American student, in this case, it wasn't an international student, it was an American student in that education abroad program. The other theme that came forth was resources in helping them just navigate their identity prior to and on site. So if they experience microaggressions, stereotype, religion, just overall being American, which we know this happens across the board. And this was the theme from our survey, regardless of their identity, just being American was one of the forefront themes that came forth. A lot of students also discussed having custom orientations just focused on their identity. And then another thing was, for example, when we talk about health and safety, when we do health and safety orientations, which we all have to do either for pre-departure or on site. And I know I've done this myself too when I worked on site, being cognizant of when we're doing those orientations, for example, if we say, oh, you need to avoid certain neighborhoods because they're not safe, and kind of reflecting back upon that, and maybe these are the neighborhoods our students identify with. These are maybe the neighborhoods they go to get halal products or get hair products, etc. And so kind of reflecting upon that when we're developing our orientations. Navigating local culture, so local customs, culture shock, language. Another piece that came forth a lot was finding community. So we had students, we had a student who was Korean American, very religious. It helped them to find a local church and help them have a more successful education abroad experience. We had several students identifying within their sexual orientation, LGBTQI plus, and finding kind of that safe space in their education abroad destination for them to find that community to help them have a better experience. And then the last piece is safety. So this is where I want to take a pause and see before I get into the diversity abroad resources and kind of the practical application of walking through our website and some of the resources that are at your disposal as members, see if there are any questions. I might stop sharing my screen for a second. Okay, great. Then let me continue if there aren't any questions, but if you think of any, please feel free. Okay, so now as far as some of the upcoming events and opportunities at Diversity Abroad. So as I mentioned, the student survey, we're going to be releasing the comprehensive report shortly, and then we will actually also be launching the next edition of our student survey. We have revised it a little bit based on some of the analysis and data, as I mentioned, that we found from this survey and kind of finding ways to dig a little bit deeper. Some of the questions remain the same, and then as others we're changing to be able to dig deeper and provide us with richer data to walk away with to help inform our practices. So that will be launched within the next 3 weeks. So please keep a lookout for that. We will promote it via our newsletters. We also have a student newsletter. We're going to be promoting it that way. There will be incentives for survey respondents. And again, with the UC campuses and the large number of students that you have, we would greatly appreciate you promoting this survey to your returnees. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll provide you with my email at the end of the presentation. The other piece I wanted to mention is that we are actually relaunching our student website. So several of campuses throughout the nation link to our student website. That is the diversityabroad.com website. That is where we had traditionally housed several articles and resources, program search, our destination guides, which were very popular for a lot of institutions, registration for student events. That website is being relaunched within the next month into a new platform. So you see the link here, beglobally.com. Right now, it just kind of directs you to a placeholder website, and you can subscribe to be notified when it's officially launched. But we're very excited in this new platform. You can link to it through your various websites, especially if you do have an identity section on your respective websites. As far as student resources, we're going to be continuing our student webinars. This past year, we held our Identity Abroad series student webinars. I have linked here the previous recordings, which are housed on our YouTube channel. Some of the webinars we had last year, which were very well attended, and these are free for students and professionals. You can also promote them via your various channels, your social media for your students. So some of the ones that we held last year were, one was Black student experiences in Europe, first gen abroad. One was focused on funding their study abroad experience. We had one focused on LGBTQI plus students. For this next year, we are planning additional ones. So we're going to have one for Latino, Latinx, Latine students, Asian American students, students with disabilities. So please keep a lookout for those. Feel free to promote to your students. You're welcome to attend as professionals as well to help inform some of your advising too. We just let you know, one of the webinars we had last year, I think was the Black student experiences in Europe. We were running out of time. We had so many questions that we had to kind of pass the questions from the professionals and try to answer the questions from the students first, prioritize that because again, it is student geared. but we highly encourage you to promote these webinars to your students. A new thing we're doing this next year is our Global Inclusion Regional Summit. We received a lot of feedback from those who attend our annual Global Inclusion Conference that they felt it's very US focused. So this first regional summit will be held in London, the mid-March 2024. The call for proposals is extended actually to September 15th. And this one is focused all on Europe. So what is going on in Europe with regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion in international education, sharing best practices, trends, or just discussing how to develop that within various institutions. So if any of you work with European programs, you have faculty members who lead programs there, faculty, staff on site who want to attend or contribute to the discussions, we highly encourage you to tell them about our regional summit. The other event we have is our Global Inclusion Conference. That is our annual conference. It will be held at the end of October in Chicago this year. I know we've had several UCEAP folks attend in previous years, so we're excited to have many more of you attend this year in Chicago. The regular registration deadline ends, I want to say September 28th or 29th, but you can check our website. Another opportunity to get engaged with us is we have a publication that we put out called the Global Impact Exchange. This publication we put out 3 times a year. Each edition has a different theme. And this is a peer-reviewed journal. We actually have an editorial advisory board. So we have the call for proposals that opens for each edition. We welcome submissions from faculty, from professionals, from new professionals. It's a great way to get published in the field. The theme for the Winter 24 edition is leveraging data to advance DEI in global education. So if you are interested, please take a look at the website or any future editions. As members, you also have access. And I'll show you, we always have the most recent edition as public facing on our website, and all the older editions are archived in our member resource center. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight is we are lining up more community discussions for this next academic year. Our community discussions are 1-hour webinars focused on different themes around the 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So Ed Abroad, global engagement at home, international student scholar exchange, and career advancement and belonging. So these community discussions are 1-hour webinars. They are recorded. You can register and attend live. If not, the recordings are housed in our member resource center. You do have to be a licensed member in our member portal to be able to register for free. If you're not sure, if you don't remember your member login, or if you are a licensed member for your institution or UC system-wide office, we just email us at our general email address, members@diversityabroad.org. I want to check to see. Okay. So now I'm going to just stop sharing for a second real quick, this screen, and I will do a walkthrough of our website. Okay, so here, when you come to our website, just note if you've bookmarked our website in the past, we recently changed our domain name from diversitynetwork.org to diversityabroad.org. This is the professionals website. Like I said, the student website, it was diversityabroad.com, which we're changing to the Be Globally. We got a lot of members emailing us saying, I'm trying to log in and it's giving me an error message. And a large majority of the time, they're trying to log into the student website. So you will come in here. And you will sign in. I'm just going to sign into one of our dummy accounts. And then you'll see your name across the top. The website does log you out after a period of inactivity. If you ever need to change anything on your account, you can do so in here. So here, when you log in, you'll see you're licensed. Jerry is part of the coffee shop organization, the address. If you want to update your communication preferences, you can do so here. Change password. Committees and groups, we do have communities of practice that several of our members are part of, so it will be reflected here. And then activity. So we send out several newsletters. Today we sent out our Into the Network newsletter. Let's say you receive a newsletter from us and you delete it and you're like, oh shoot, what was that resource that they referred to? I deleted it. You can always come back in here, click on it, and you can see the newsletter again. So here we have all of the conferences and events that I was mentioning. Our membership, if you want to see our members when you're logged in, you can access the member directory with the contact information for our members, and then just overall snapshot of our members. I'm going to get into the Member Resource Center. We are working on a search functionality that should be complete within the next, hopefully, 2 months for our Member Resource Center, which is essentially our library, in which you can come in here and you can just search. So you can put in, for example, Asian American students, and any resources that we have would pull up. I'm going to speed it up because I just got a 5-minute note. But so I'm going to come in here, but right now you have to click around in the folders. So you come in here at Abroad Resources. I'm going to come into Student Support and Advising. And then you can see all the resources. So we have articles, we have advisor manuals, conference presentation slides. So if you're not able to attend our conferences, we have been loading the slides in here. Community discussions are in here. These are 2 very popular ones. This Country.Climate webinar is looking at the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion from the lens of Italy. We try to get on-site folks to serve on these panels, and we are going to be organizing more this next year. But you're going to come in here. You can see the presentation slides, if there are any presentation slides, description, the presenters. And then you'll click on here and watch the recording. We have various, as I mentioned, resources for you all as professionals for team building, strategic planning. This is the folder that I would recommend for you to navigate. So let me, because of time, I do want to pause and see if there are any other questions. Great. So with the Member Resource Center, like I mentioned, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at our general email address. If you don't remember your login or your password, you're not able to register for an event, please email us at our general email address. I'm going to share this with you again real quick. And then I look forward to engaging with several of you. I do also do specific campus presentations. I've done it for a couple of the UC campuses. So if you are in, I'm organizing one for system-wide office as well. So if you are interested in a specific, just a presentation for your campus, please feel free to reach out to us. And we're more than happy to schedule that. I'm also going to be on October 5th. I do what I call these maximizing membership sessions, where I walk through the member portal in detail to help navigate our members and the benefits of their membership and where all the resources are for all of you. And then as far as the student survey, once the next iteration comes out, we'll be promoting it. And I would greatly appreciate all the UC campuses help in promoting that to your students. We're going to have campaigns on LinkedIn, our social media, like I said, our various newsletters. But if you all also have any marketing campaigns that go out to your students, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the survey. And again, this will be a valuable tool that we're more than happy to share with campuses once we get the data. Great. I want to thank you all for attending. and we'll hope to connect soon with all of you.